Welcome to TP Talks. TP Talks is a webinar series hosted by Teleperformance as a means of sharing innovations and market trends with our clients, our prospects, and friends across the landscape. And for today's session, specifically across the healthcare ecosystem. My name is John Machinsky. I'm Executive Vice President and Customer Experience Strategist for Teleperformance. I've got the honor of hosting and moderating this webinar series, and today introducing our esteemed guest presenter, Melissa O'Brien from HFS Research. Before we get to Melissa, we've got a few housekeeping rules for the session and some quick information about Teleperformance as well. So, as you can see here from the screen in front of you here, this is going to be an interactive session. So there are several related resources that are available for you to download. You can see the icon for that. If you have any questions during the webcast, please click on the Q&A icon at the bottom and submit your questions. You can do this anytime during the conversation, and we'll address them as we go along. If you do have any technical issues, please click on the help icon you see there. And then finally, if you do want to reach out following this session, then too, there's another icon you can click on there too, and you can send us an email. So first off, in terms of Teleperformance overall, we'll talk a little bit about that. And in terms of TP Talks, the introduction to this session, this is our attempt to provide easy-to-digest nuggets of information, taking no more than 30 minutes overall. The intention here is to provide inspiring ideas of how companies can adapt to become truly customer-centric. It encourages a learning environment by sharing best practices, big trends, innovations, and real-world success stories. We also try to ensure great ideas and content are acceptable to all attendees overall. And most importantly, everything that you see us focus on is going to be through creating value to drive effective outcomes. Now, in regards to Teleperformance, if you're not familiar with us, we are the global leader in customer experience solutions. We're in a unique position to provide insights from a variety of industries, geographies, content channels through a variety of interactions all around the globe. In fact, we do speak with 40% of the world's population every year. With 217,000 employees, you'll see spread across 74 countries and also all across the U.S. and through home agents. We are in a fortunate position here as having been recognized by many of the world's leading companies through our forward-thinking approach and enabling solutions. We've also been acknowledged as the industry leader by the most distinguished analysts within our space, and that does not include the notable recognition that we've also received from somebody actually who's on the call here today that we will be introducing shortly through HFS. And with that, I would like to introduce Melissa O'Brien, who's Research Director for HFS Research. And the topic today is going to be curating back office to drive member experience. As it says, Melissa is going to be talking to us about highlighting the existing front office, middle office, and back office silos, introducing HFS's exciting concept of intelligent one-office vision, and discuss frameworks and best practices for integration. She'll be providing insights into integrating them into one office and how sharing synergies between the two divisions will lead to an improved customer experience, and discuss real-life examples using case studies of specific back office processes that can be integrated with front office to lower the total cost of ownership. So with that, I'll turn it over to Melissa.
Great. Thanks, John. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Melissa O'Brien with HFS Research. And thanks to Teleperformance for having me on today. It's an honor to be able to chat with some of your network here, and looking forward to sharing some of our viewpoints from HFS. So I'll give you a little bit of background first quickly about myself. I am HFS's Research Director following omni-channel trends and customer engagement strategies, and looking at front office services, including contact center and marketing operations, and the increasing element of automation in those front office services. So that's my purview at HFS, and I worked at IDC previously for about 4.5 years running the customer care BPO program there worldwide. and from before that, coming from a contact center background, so in various operations roles there. So a little bit of background quickly about HFS and where we come from. We're a research firm that started as a blog. So this is actually a screenshot of our very first blog. So coming right up on the 10-year anniversary of the blog starting. And we actually morphed from that blog, which is focused on the services industry with kind of some heavy focus around F&A and procurement BPO, into a full-fledged research firm, which we are today, called HFS Research. And so we're a services-only focused research firm. We do the same sort of competitive assessments, which we call our blueprints, which are written for buyers of enterprise services, like many of yourselves on the call today, to help you sort of navigate the landscape of service providers in the market today. And we also have a heavy network of buyer contacts too that we work with and try to sort of bridge that gap between the buyers and service providers and understand what's changing about the dynamics in the services industry today. So that's a little bit about HFS and what we're doing. So I want to start off showing you some data. So what we're looking at right now, and I'll get quite a bit into this as we go through the conversation today, is about what we're terming the intelligent one office. And so we go out and we do these buyer surveys several times a year. This particular survey that you're looking at here is from what we called our Intelligent Operations One Office study from last year. And we asked buyers what's important to them, what's changing, what sort of things are driving relationships with your service providers. So in this particular piece of data, as you can see, the majority of enterprise buyers questions for this survey were really looking toward a customer-first model to align the organization to their service provider relationships. And then also as a close runner-up to that, moving to intelligent operations, allowing to better segment and process work and work processes. So these are the things that are top of mind across industry from your peers in terms of what's driving service provider relationships across various types of BPO services and engagement models. We'll get a little bit more in depth about that. I wanted to drill down and show you a little bit of data specific to the healthcare industry. We asked which of these C-suite directives were critical to the operations strategy and found, as you can see here, mission critical. Obviously, cost does tend to come up at the top of all these things, but I wanted to really highlight a couple of other pieces that came up on top as mission critical, which was creating real-time data that supports predictive rather than reactive experiences with customers. And then what we're talking about today, and some sort of real-life examples, and I know Teleperformance is going to jump in with some examples of this, is aligning front, middle, and back office to the customer-centric organization. So how are we actually looking at operations in a way that puts the customer at the heart and at the center? And in this case, for the healthcare industry, whether it's the patient or the member. But these are things that are mission critical to your peers today, and these are things that are sort of changing operations, helping to create more intelligent operations within the enterprise. And I'll just take another healthcare slice of that data from the previous slide I just showed you, which is comparing that across industry. So as you can see, retail, not surprising, really at the top of that, saying that they're truly being driven by a customer-first strategy, more so than the others, and following that insurance and manufacturing. So, but I think what we're seeing right now is an enormous opportunity in the healthcare industry, and also we'll see some catch-up, I think, coming from some of the major banks as well, as there's been so much tumult and so many changes, really pivoting the organization, the healthcare organization, to be a customer-centric organization is something that's happening now and something that's going to be increasing in the coming years. So, looking at this not necessarily as being lagging behind, but certainly an industry that's been impacted by a lot of changes, and we believe that this will be pivoting very quickly. So with that, I'll get to what we call our one office concept, which is what we're talking about when we talk about aligning front, middle, and back office operations. So if you look at this visual that you have here, to the left side with that orange circle is the digitally driven front office. So this is your customer's world. This is where they live. They live on their mobile phones, on social and interactions. Their preferences are changing continuously, and they're wanting to communicate and to have different types of experiences which aren't necessarily specific to any particular industry. They're judging experiences across industry, as we all know. So how do you pivot the organization in order to support that? It means bringing together front, middle, and back office operations, aligning data, and really making that type of organization that's more transparent, that has real-time access to data, and that has that design of the customer at the heart of it. So if you look at the right side of the visual, what we're talking about is being able to automate processes, use RPA to make things more effective and efficient, and standardization. And then you've also got, on the bottom of the right-hand side, that more intelligent piece. So how do you become more intelligent with that data after it's been streamlined and after you've streamlined those processes? And then, of course, you've got your support functions, which are all, believe it or not, a piece of the organization that impacts the customer. And that's a big piece of pivoting towards being able to support this, is recognizing that even IT support, that HR, in your cases, maybe billings and claims management, all of these elements that are typically behind the scenes do end up impacting and need to be aligned to support that digital front office customer experience. So that's kind of the big picture of how we're looking at this, and we'll talk about a few examples here. But with that, I will pass back over to Teleperformance with some examples.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. Just a quick introduction. My name is Devinder Singh, and I lead the back office strategy for Teleperformance. So at Teleperformance, we are starting to implement the framework that Melissa described of one office, which is integrating the back office and front office operations. And we are seeing a lot of success with that. So the example that I'm going to use is for Philips, where we recently implemented this. And I know there are a few leaders from Philips that are on the call, so I just wanted to thank them for the partnership with Teleperformance and on this initiative as well. So we started with Philips in 2016 in the U.S., and we handle their front office operation for personal health as well as back office operation, where any cases or issues that are not resolved by the front office are escalated to the back office. And, this program, was set up as your typical front office, back office programs are set up, typical silo operations, where there were separate agents handling the back office as well as the front office operations. They had, separate processes, in some cases separate tools. And when we got the program, they were in separate rooms, not talking to each other. So what would happen would be a call would come in, and the front office agent would not be able to resolve the call, and they would escalate the case to a back office agent. And the back office agents were dealing with a backlog of cases and requests from prior, and they would work the cases oldest to the newest. And by the time the case, they would get to the case, the customer would have called again, and this would cause a lot of frustration. The customer is frustrated because their case is not resolved. The front office agent is frustrated because, they have ownership of the customer, but they don't have the tools or the processes to resolve the case. And the back office agents were frustrated because they were dealing with the backlog of agents, a backlog of cases, and not able to get to the cases quickly. So we implemented what Melissa described, the one office concept. We brought together the front office and back office agents on the same call floor. We assigned a back office agent to the front office team. And we also implemented technology such as TP chat. So when a call would come in, we would bring in the back office agent real time into the conversation. So the front office and the back office agents would collaborate real time and resolve the case right then and there. So, and again, this is work in progress. As Melissa mentioned, there are a lot of other things that we are thinking about bringing to the table, but with this integration, we are seeing huge improvement in results. So improvement on the Net Promoter Score, we are seeing improvement or decrease in the case backlog, and more engagement from the consumers overall. So I know in the short period of time, I just wanted to bring forward a snippet of the case study, and happy to discuss that in detail as time permits. So back to Melissa.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think one of the pieces that you just described that's most important is that this is certainly a work in progress, and we see that across enterprises and across the different buyers and service providers that we talk to. We're not expecting this kind of holistic, integrated customer engagement overnight. In many cases, there are a lot of legacy systems, there are legacy processes, and there's a lot to work through. So I think that's why it's important. Initially, it starts with a cultural sort of acknowledgement of becoming a customer-centric organization, and then post that becomes, how can we start taking some steps? Let's start somewhere, because you're not going to be able to boil the ocean on the first day and be able to deliver on these experiences. And it's going to be ongoing as customer preferences change, as technology changes. It's going to be an ongoing work in progress. So it's about how do we become more agile, nimble organizations to be able to react to those changes and be able to serve our customers. And in some cases that we have observed recently in the healthcare industry here at HFS, what we found is a couple of organizations that allowed us access to clients to really chat with them and try to understand what it is that their patients are experiencing, and a couple different things which are definitely kind of reminiscent to what Devinder was just describing, putting themselves in the customer's shoes. And in some cases, for some organizations, that means hiring a chief patient officer, having someone really in charge of that patient experience in organization, or running through mock sort of scenarios, whether that's within an ambulance ride or if that's in a member experience. So using design thinking to put yourself in the client's shoes, put yourself in your employee's shoes, that back office employee that maybe does not have an understanding of the work that they're doing and how that actually impacts the front office, how that impacts the patient experience. I actually heard at a conference last week, it was an interesting tidbit of an organization that had folks within the organization that weren't necessarily customer-facing, people who traditionally, quote-unquote, had nothing to do with the customer experience, listen to phone calls, listen to those, kind of frustrated customers and see what the impacts are, and then use that as an exercise to how do we streamline processes, what recommendations do we need to make for updating and modernizing and optimizing the systems that we use to create better experiences and really better align to that customer. So the couple quotes that you see here are from some of those research efforts that we've looked at over the course of the last few months, and I think it really speaks to thinking about not just our jobs and what we're trying to do day to day, but really putting ourselves in the patient's shoes and how they feel. So I think this resonates across any organization, but I think in healthcare it's even that much more important, where you've got people's real wellness and their livelihoods on the line. So the same for me too in a research organization. Think about my role and what I could do, what really inspires me, to kind of work across the silos of the business units and the different data and the whole ecosystem of what we're working with today. And really everybody's role does have an impact on the customer experience at the end of the day. So with that, I'll turn it back to John.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and thank you, Devinder. So just adding on that then as well, certainly where we've got clients who have engaged teleperformance overall for these processes, you've got the added advantage, too, of efficiency gains. So, for instance, if you've got seats that are occupied overnights in the Philippines for your customer care contacts, and in addition to the synergies that we've talked about to be able to create a better customer experience, you also gain those efficiencies by being able to occupy those seats during the day as well and be able to get some cost benefit from having that one seat then being able to be used virtually then 24 hours a day. And what we found certainly is that the overall relationship does tend to become much more strategic when you can take that company that you've trusted for your customer contacts and now have them be a little more holistic in terms of their overall approach to your business and being able to handle that entire outcome from stem to stern rather than just one piece of the overall enterprise. So the relationships certainly have become more meaningful as a whole. So we've got some time here at the very end of this now to be able to field questions. So if anybody does have any questions for Melissa or Devinder, please click on the Q&A icon, and we'll see if we can get those answered.
John, while we are waiting for questions, I just wanted to bring forth another example and a huge opportunity we see on the payer side, if I may.
Okay, perfect. Go right ahead.
So when you look at the contact centers on the payer side, and one of the things we did was, we as John mentioned, we've got huge operations on the payer side globally, and we used our analytics group to analyze the contacts that were coming in and the reasons for those contacts. And as we looked at the calls coming in, we found 35% of the calls are coming from providers. And 80% of those calls are, really simple requests related to, where's my check, or the money that I got was different from what I was expecting, or, I haven't received my check at all. And so you look at the downstream impact of where those exceptions are coming from. Those are coming from your back office operations. And if there's a way to curate those exceptions right at the source, you can eliminate a lot of those contacts coming in to your contact center. So if a claim is being processed and we find out if the provider address is wrong, or if the deductible that the provider and the member are expecting is different from what is in the system, we could proactively notify the provider and the member of the issues and eliminate that call. So in terms of what John mentioned about the efficiencies that we can bring, so the total cost of operation, there can be a significant impact by combining the front and back office operations.
Great. Thank you, Devinder. So we've got a few questions that have come in, so I will I'll go through these here then, and then Melissa or Devinder, if one of you care to answer, these would be great. So question from Rich. Often we have silos between front, middle, and back office operations at our client side. What are some more approaches that healthcare firms are taking to getting those not on the front line, more client-centric?
So I'll take a first step at that then. I think, the siloed piece is probably one of the biggest challenges across industries, and we see it not just between front, middle, and back office, but even in our front office operations. So, the silos between sales and marketing and service, and really trying to understand the customer experience across the whole kind of buy cycle is a challenge. So, I think in some pieces it's a governance issue. So you do need to, and we see organizations doing this, to align to have some person or entity at the organization that's in charge of the customer experience for the sheer focus and purpose of facilitating that kind of sharing and de-siloization, I guess, between different parts of the organization. So that's really a governance issue, and it has to be something that's brought down from leadership, certainly. And I think in another regard, there's also an element which speaks to some of what Devinder was describing in the relationship with their client, which is working with the service provider organization to help break that down as well, which means a greater partnership, and it means allowing access to various stakeholders within the organization. So you might need to go to your service provider and say, like, look, I need some help with market and thought leadership to bring this to different parts of my organization, to kind of get them on board with this. And I definitely encourage companies to look to their service providers for that type of leadership, to look to them for innovation and say, how can you help me with this? Because in many cases, your contact center service provider or whatever element you might be using services for is really the expert in that space. And so being able to generate that type of dialogue might help within your organization to lean on them for that kind of thought leadership.
And I'll just add to that, Melissa. I think it's, we are seeing some of the leading organizations use customer-centric metrics on the back office, similar to what they use on the front office. So your typical metrics on the back office are, what's my efficiency, what's my productivity, what's the error rate. So what we are seeing leading organizations do is try to use the customer-centric measures on the back office. So if I have an error or if I have an exception, what's my NPS correlation when a call comes in the front office? So linking the client satisfaction to your back office operation gives these leading companies the customer centricity.
Great, thanks, guys. And I think we've got time for one more question here, and the question's from Randy. And the question is, what technologies might be required to support a one-office solution? Does it require a technological investment?
So I'll start, and Melissa.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Yep.
No, I was going to say.
No, you go first.
One of the things we do at Teleperformance is, first identify the process that's broken, and then bring in the technology. So, the example that you saw with Philips is, in order to bring the right technology in, you need to figure out what the problem is, and then bring the right technology to it. So, and that's what Teleperformance can do, is figure out what those intricacies are, and once we define that, we bring the right technology in. So, Melissa, please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree, and I was going to say something similar, which is, it definitely, technology investment may be involved, but it certainly doesn't start with technology. It starts with the design, figuring out the problem, and then, understanding customer preferences and expectations, and then, how do you align to that? But it certainly doesn't start with the technology. It starts with that design element, and in many cases, you're able to to optimize and leverage even in legacy technology. It's more about writing off legacy thinking, I think, than it is necessarily about the technology in many cases.
All right, great. Well, thank you. I think we are at our time here, so we do have still a few other questions for anybody that submitted a question and hasn't gotten a response. We will be emailing you back with a response to that question. But I would like to thank both Melissa and Devinder for some great content for today's session. And I'd also like to thank everyone for participating in today's event overall. If you would like to reach out and contact us, there again is an opportunity for you to do that through the icon that you have. So email that on over, and we'll make sure that we can get back with you as well. Please do keep an eye out for invitations to future TP Talks events. Those will be coming out shortly. This will be a regular series that we host. Thank you to everyone, and have a great day.